I am Ben Felder with Oklahoma Gazette with Oklahoma City Mayor Mick Cornett.
Hello, Ben.
Mayor, how are you today?
Good to be here.
We're here at the deadCENTER Film Festival, and you just got done with a panel talking about your documentary, which premiered earlier this year, The Boom, the Bust, and the Bomb. And I want to talk to you about that a little bit, but first off, just your thoughts on this festival, 15 years now.
It seems like it's growing and in more solid footing than it's ever been before. And I was looking at the wide variety of entries. And I think that's the result of the reputation of the festival. I mean, people know this is a fun place to go, and they're sending better and better movies. And also, I think there's something to be said about the equipment today is opening up opportunities to make films to people who never had opportunities before. Because a person with hardly any money can create a film that they want to show to somebody. And I think we're kind of going through a revolution in filmmaking, and deadCENTER's a part of that.
Yeah, you and city leaders before you, one of the big missions over the last couple of decades have been trying to create this hub of culture and entertainment and quality of life for all ages, particularly maybe young families and young creatives moving. What do you think when you're kind of in an environment like this, when you see all this activity happening downtown?
Well, I do think there's this unofficial checklist of things your community better have. Yeah. You could say, well, you need a marathon, and you need a triathlon, and you better have a film festival. And so the fact that we've had the deadCENTER festival now for 15 years is kind of never been something we've had to work on. But if we didn't have the deadCENTER Film Festival, we'd be trying to create one.
Yeah.
And so it's great that we had one when film festivals were kind of in their infancy. And now, when it seems like almost every community out there has a film festival or wants to try and create one, we've already got one of the best ones in the country.
Yeah, Oklahoma's story, the festival, the city as a whole, becomes even more amazing when you take a look at its history, which your documentary did, which premiered earlier this year. Just tell us a little bit about that, the film.
The film is called Oklahoma City, The Boom, the Bust, and the Bomb. And it takes a look at Oklahoma City's unique history between 1970 and 1995. And so it includes some very good economic times in the 1970s, and then the oil bust that hit in 1982 and carried us through that time frame and leads us up and through the Oklahoma City bombing. The film ends just a couple of hours after the bomb goes off, and then there's an epilogue that brings all of the storylines up to date. And the best way for me to describe it to people of my generation is that this is the rest of the story. I mean, you look around Oklahoma City now and you see a lot of really cool stuff. Well, this movie kind of gives you some of the building blocks for the things that we have today. We couldn't have had the city we have today if it hadn't have been for this time period. Yeah. And a lot of lessons were learned, and I think people that went through it are enjoying the film, and people that didn't know any of this are telling me they're just amazed at how much they didn't know. So I'm real enthused with the feedback that we're getting.
Yeah, especially important when there's so many people who are moving to Oklahoma City that maybe aren't familiar with that story.
Yeah, I mean, half the people that live in the city today didn't live here when the bomb went off.
Yeah.
And to a person like me that the last 20 years has gone like that, I think, wow, that's true.
Yeah.
And so those lessons and that story needs to be told.
Yeah. And you and I've had this conversation about the bust, so to speak, in the film, the economic downtimes. That this was something that hit Oklahoma City in a way that few cities had ever seen before, right?
Yeah. In fact, a lot of people talk about the Reagan years from an economic standpoint as being pretty good. Mm-hmm. In the early 90s as being pretty good. Well, it wasn't here, and that's kind of typical of Oklahoma City's history. It seems like when we're doing well, the rest of the country isn't, and when the rest of the country's doing well, we aren't. And we've always had kind of this boom and bust mentality. But this is a story of a generation of entrepreneurs who survived, and there's some business and banking and energy, I think, lessons to be learned along the way. And if people have really never experienced, some firsthand accounts of what the bombing did to some lives, this movie will take them through that, and hopefully, in an uplifting manner.
Yeah, you have a journalism background, so you're familiar with storytelling and being in front of and using the camera. What was this experience like for you? Putting this together in this documentary.
Well, it was overwhelming to a certain extent because in my mind it seems like very finite and something that will be easy to tell and capture. And then by the time I had read the books on the subject and interviewed 20-25 people who had lived through it, I realized there was just an incredible amount of material that had to be condensed into one story that people could understand. And so, there's what, 400,000 people living in Oklahoma City in that era. Well, I can't tell 400,000 stories, obviously. So I have to pick a few that I think are interesting and compelling, and use that to kind of tell a city's story. So the real star of this film is the city of Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And it's told through the entrepreneurs and the leaders who survived it.
Yeah. We'll finally tell those who are watching how they might be able to watch this film.
Well, it is for sale on places like Amazon. You can download it to your iPad. You can order a DVD. Probably the two best ways. It's also at retail outlets. Full Circle Books is carrying it. Oklahoma History Center in their gift shop is carrying the film, and it's coming soon to the Painted Door.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, Mayor Mick Cornett, thanks for your time.
You
Welcome
bet.
to deadCENTER, and I appreciate it.